Himself in the studio, Mr. Tom Gilbert. How are you?
Gary, good afternoon. How are you? Hello, Isaac.
I'll tell you what, I'm going to turn your microphone on, and I reckon it's going to make a huge difference.
There'd be plenty of people that would prefer you leave my microphone off. Yeah.
And the news just keeps getting better because Isaac's returned with his rather dashing look.
Look at him.
Hey, Mr. I'm glad this isn't television.
Very handsome.
Welcome, Isaac.
Thank you.
Where'd you get your hair cut, Isaac?
Downstairs.
Oh, just out. Perfect. They used to be the butcher's shop when I was at your age. Chapman's Butchers.
It
No,
might still
Simon's.
be a butcher shop.
They didn't butcher you.
No, they did a great job, as always. How's your week been, Isaac?
It's been good.
You've had a good week, haven't you, mate?
Yeah.
Yeah, we had your basketball game, the big basketball game on Tuesday night. How good was that game?
It was great.
It was a bit embarrassing for the other team, though, wasn't it?
They were all like 11 and under 14s.
Yeah, well, you're under 14, you're 11, under 14.
Did
What
you-
was the score?
What was the result?
46 to about 6,
12.
was it? 12.
Oh, that's just mean.
It was a bit, yeah, it was a bit mean, yeah. But, the coaches were humoured them and got them. There was a fair bit of ball passing at the end to try and keep the score down. But that was a great. Then we endured the concert.
Endured. I thought it was good.
Mate, sorry,
Good pick up, Isaac.
year 2 record a group playing Amazing Grace. Come on.
Let's hope they're not listening.
Mate, their ears, no, they couldn't be listening because my ears are still bleeding after that. It's awful, awful. I don't care what you say. Melbourne Cup, did you do any good at the Melbourne Cup, Tom?
No, I did not. I walked past the television and watched it out of vague interest.
Yeah.
But I was pleased to see the Australian horsemen.
Who won? I can't even. I don't know.
Seek and Destroy, Vouch and Affair. I don't know.
So no one cares as much about horse racing anymore. I think there's a bit of a downturn, isn't there?
I'm busy at work, mate.
Of course you are. Speaking of work, which let's talk about. We've got some fabulous topics to get through today.
Yes.
Now, I think we're going to start with something really quite interesting about. We're going to talk about hovercrafts and spaceships, aren't we? Future technologies.
Future technologies, correct.
In motor vehicles.
The Jetsons.
The Jetsons, that's the one. So, tell us a little bit about what being the man about cars. You'd see all the new stuff, wouldn't you?
We do, and that's one of the exciting parts of my job is to be working at the forefront of, I guess you could say, affordable technology.
Yeah.
For the public.
Affordable.
It is.
Yeah.
So a lot of talk about the environment, and you'll see some of the councils in Australia are calling it an environmental emergency. In which case they should all leave their cars at home and walk to work, I guess. But, to that end, Toyota have been obviously doing a lot of stuff for many years now in that space, Gary.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with the hybrids that are getting around?
Here we are. There's a lot of varying discussions about hybrids.
So when I started selling cars in '93, we couldn't give them away. But Toyota have been building hybrids now for over 20 years. I've sold a million of them. And suddenly, now that everyone's thinking about the environment, hybrids are the flavour of the year. So we're just lucky to be involved with a manufacturer that's progressive, that's been building them for 20 years. So Toyota are now up to their 3rd generation hybrid, and a hybrid really is a car that has a petrol engine and an electric engine.
This is the Prius, is that the
Prius is one of them, but we now have hybrids almost across the whole range. We have them in Corolla Hatch hybrid, we have RAV hybrid, we have Camry hybrid, we have Corolla Sedan hybrid about to arrive, and CHR hybrid are about to arrive. But the secret between the hybrid, and it gets confusing, and you don't really need to know how they work. What you do need to know is that in a hybrid, in a full hybrid, like a Toyota, a full hybrid, when you accelerate off from the lights and you get up to speed and then you slow down for the next stoplight, when you put your foot on the brake, you're charging the battery. They have regenerative braking, so they're harnessing all that energy. That's what makes them efficient. Mm-hmm. Some hybrids aren't full hybrids, so they don't re-harness that energy. They just have an electric engine helping. So, yeah, remarkable technology. The best thing about them is you don't have to change your driving habit. You put fuel in the back, you drive it as per normal, and the brain does all the thinking, and it charges when required, and it dispels the electric energy when required. So, yeah, just remarkable. And they just work. I got into a taxi in Cairns a couple of years ago, and the taxi I got into was a Prius. It had done 450,000 Ks, and it had never had anything going on with it, never had a warranty issue.
Oh, it's just a good. Well, try out a reliable vehicle anyway.
Sure.
Let's be honest.
They are.
But tell me, are we going to be driving around in spaceships?
So, or maybe, but it won't be during my time or your time. I guess the next big thing will be, hybrids aren't the answer they're not the solution, but they're a usable technology today. Mm-hmm. So I guess down the track we'll be all talking about electric cars. The problem with electric at the moment is you're charging your electric car and you're using coal-fired power stations. Yeah. So you're actually emitting more CO2 with an electric car today than if you're driving a hybrid. So down the track, sure, if we're using solar or wind or nuclear, then your electric car will be zero emission. So they're coming. There's things down the track as well that Toyota are making today that you can buy called a Mirai. That's a hydrogen fuel cell vehicle. So that takes liquid hydrogen and produces no emissions, zero, except for a little bit of water.
You can buy them now?
You can buy them in the States.
Okay, not here.
No, not here. I've driven the car, and they bought refueling is the problem with hydrogen because you're going to have infrastructure. So there's a lot happening that's really, really exciting. So hybrid, plug-in hybrid, electric vehicles, hydrogen fuel cells, no one really knows what to back. Yeah. So there's a lot of manufacturers like Toyota that have got a foot in each camp.
Yeah.
It's an exciting time.
Wow, that sounds fantastic. What do you reckon Isaac's going to be driving in what? How old are you now?
I reckon he's going to have a combi.
Probably.
He liked the look of the Supra.
He did like the look of the Supra.
And I noticed you've gift wrapped it.
We have put it. Well, there's a young lady living locally. She might be listening who's put a name on that car. So we can't sell it just yet because we've got an agreement to keep it. But if you haven't seen the all new Supra, which is absolutely bonkers, come and have a look. It's fantastic.
Yeah. Hey, speaking of new things, are you a bit of a Cold Chisel fan?
Love the Chisel.
Have you heard their new song?
No.
Yeah, they've chucked out a new song last week, I think it was.
I think I have heard.
Yeah, what's it called,
I
Isaac?
have heard.
What's it called, Isaac?
Getting the band back
Yeah, getting the band together. They've actually they've recorded on DVD, I'm showing my age now, CD, and on cassette. I think they put a limited run of cassettes. Remember those? Remember your grandfather had them, wouldn't he? Your grandfather had them.
I got into a car the other day with a cassette player and my son didn't know what it was.
No, well, you wouldn't have seen one of that, would you? Cassette player? Have you?
My son has one.
Oh, there you go. Good old one. You're not that old then. Well, let's have a listen to that, and I reckon we might back it up with one of their old ones, one of their old
awesome
cold ones. The Cold Chisel with Forever Now, but we're going to listen to their, what is it called? I think
Getting the band back
Let's
together.
go. Let's hear that, shall we?
Do it.
You're listening to Hills Radio, 88.9 FM. In the studio with me right at this very moment is the very man himself, Tom Gilbert, from Adelaide Hills Toyota. Now, Isaac's got a question for you, mate.
Yes.
There's a question on notice. You might be prepared for this, but I reckon you can pull it off. Isaac, go on, where you go?
How am I supposed to own a car when I'm older?
That's a very good question, Isaac, and I'm the man that can answer it for you.
I hope so.
Look, let me start by saying if you bought a car today, there's a couple of different ways. We walk in, you paid your hard-earned after-tax money, or
hang on, my hard,
or your hard,
my hard,
dad's hard-earned after-tax money.
I don't think I could buy it yet.
Or you might go to the bank or a finance company or Toyota Finance, and you might borrow the money. And if you are a business and you borrow the money, it's tax deductible, so it all kind of works. In the future, Isaac, when you get to car ownership age, you might find that you don't need to own a car full time. So there's going to be lots of different models. For example, you might not have a car at all, and you might use a ride sharing app like Uber. You've heard of Uber?
Yeah.
Or Lyft, or Zimride, or all these different ride sharing apps. So you just don't even own a car at all. Or you might say, actually, I want a car for the weekend. And you might walk up to a car with an app, a Toyota app, hold it against the car unlocks, you get in, you drive the car for the weekend and you drop it back where you left it.
Okay.
Yeah, how cool is that? And then you go to uni on your bike or the train or whatever. Or you might pay a rental fee to have a car in your garage and you can swap it over every month. So this month you might have a Yaris to drive around the city. And you say, next month I want to go on a trip and I want to swap it for a RAV4.
Okay.
So you might pay a subscription model and have all different cars at your disposal. So there's all these different things that are coming to fruition now. Are they going to happen today or tomorrow? Ride sharing certainly is. The different ownership models aren't happening now, but we are investigating them. Toyota are creating partnerships with all these tech companies that are assisting them to look at all these different models down the track. So it's a pretty interesting time. So you might not traditionally own a car as Dad or I may. You may have a raft of cars at your disposal.
Who puts the fuel in them though?
Well, that'll be part of the charge. Yeah. So if you drive it far enough to put fuel in it, you'll need fuel. If you don't, you leave it there.
Yeah, somebody comes on and takes it away and fills it up before the dude gets it.
Yeah, and a lot of those subscription models will include the insurance, the servicing, the running costs, the rego, and all that sort of stuff. So, fortunately for me, at the moment, people love buying cars. They love having a car in the garage. It's an Aussie thing, I think. We got like looking at the car in the garage and giving it a polish on Saturday morning and taking it for a drive, and it's a bit of a pride of ownership thing. So, and I certainly, I love cars. So I love,
Pretty handy, isn't
I
it, doing
think
what
you'd
you do?
have to
Yeah.
love cars if you work like that.
Yeah, well, some people aren't car heads. I just happen to be one. But, you know, I like popping in the garage, looking at my car, giving it a chamois, putting the garage down. So a bit weird like that. When the car's clean, I'll go and wash my bike. So, yeah, it's really interesting. We're on the cusp of a lot of different things that may happen. Or conversely, you could be a business, you might run a business down the track, Isaac, and you might win a contract to look after a pipeline for 6 months, and you need 10 cars for 6 months. You might go to Toyota and say, I want to rent 10 cars for 6 months, and then give them back. So instead of buying the cars yourself. So yeah, it's all these different interesting ways that Toyota are looking at ownership structures down the track.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting stuff, isn't it? You know, it's always, the world is always changing. I guess we just need to move and...
I heard a very good quote the other day, Gary, and it said something like, never in history has change occurred so quickly. Never again will it be so slow.
That's interesting, isn't it? Yeah.
So change is going to continue to speed up, and we think, you know, we might think, oh, you know, we've arrived. Particularly as kids and young children, or younger people, you don't realise what's evolving so quickly. But you've been around for 49 years on the planet, like you and I have, and you realise that, you know, we were out before mobile phones and fuel injection and power windows.
Windows, gosh, I jumped in a car a little while ago and I had to wind the windows down. I was like, one of the pop-up pack. I was like, what, how does this work?
I took home an old Magna the other day because it had fuel in it and I was a bit tight like that. And it had wind-up windows, and my kids said, "What's that, Dad?" I said, "Have a play and see what it does." Window came down. So, yeah, it wasn't that long ago.
No, it wasn't. Hey, how about we listen? Speaking of magic, everything sounds magic. How about we go to a song, just Dragon with Magic, one of my favourites, and then we'll come back after that, shall we?
Excellent.
A bit more of a chat, is that okay?
See you then.
Kills Radio.
We're here with Tom Gilbert.
Who's that second song?
Hey, that's Pseudo Echo.
That's right, that's a cool song. Yeah.
I like that, but I thought we're running out of time, and we've got a couple of really interesting topics to talk about. Now, we were just talking in the break there, or the music break, whatever you want to call it, about diesels, Tom.
Oh yeah,
that was fascinating.
Yeah, well, it is fascinating. Diesels, the reason diesels have been fantastic is because per litre they contain more energy than petrol. But because they're less refined, there is bigger issues with emissions. So manufacturers have been in a race to try to make them burn cleaner, but it's not really working that well. There's diesel particulate filters, there's AdBlue, there's exhaust gas recirculation valves, and all these sorts of technologies to make diesels burn clean. But at the end of the day, you're only shifting the problem from one pot to the next. So what happens down the track, it will be interesting, because there are some countries in Europe already considering banning the diesel in the city. So, you know, that has large implications for transport and trucking and ships and all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Yeah, which puts the emphasis back on hybrid. So, you know, again, Toyota have been banging on about hybrid for 20 years and no one was listening. But let me assure you, people are listening, and every second person that walks into the dealership today is asking about a hybrid.
That many,
yeah,
that popular. Wow.
And in fact, even the big cars that we're selling, I think I'm allowed to say this, the big cars like the Land Cruisers and the hybrid, the Hilux and Prados, there are hybrids slated for all of those down the track, which most manufacturers won't have any inkling of just yet, that Toyota are going to be doing hybrid commercial vehicles, but they will be coming and they will be awesome.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I said, you look at the consequences of not having diesel for the trucks. You just can't even can't imagine a world without diesel trucks and ships and.
What's happening is that the governments will put caps on emissions from vehicles, and manufacturers that don't have a plan, i.e. hybrids, may disappear from the market. So you're going to end up with the manufacturers that do have a plan with hybrids and alternate technologies and alternate ownership structures that are still around for the future. Yeah. I tell you what was interesting today was coming here was not being able to get a car park in the main street. How good is that?
Yeah,
Mount Barker's pumping.
It's a busy little place.
Fantastic.
Now, it is.
We're very lucky.
I've noticed I have to park in the land of far away. Unfortunately, to get
Wisto.
Yeah, it takes about a week to get here. But look, I think Mount Barker is a happening place, isn't it?
Well, you know what I often say. There's places around Australia that are in decline, and Mount Barker is not one of them. And I know we have to put up with the traffic and getting held up. But let me assure you, as far as getting jobs for your kids, it's a good thing.
I think it is too.
Yeah.
Now we've run out of time.
Hey, terrific.
Yeah, thanks very much, Tom. It's fantastic. As always, interesting.
Thanks, Gary. Thanks, Isaac. Have a great weekend.
Yeah, you too. What are you up to?
What am I doing? Not much. I've got a bit of gardening to do. I've got to mow my lawn.
Oh, no. We did a bit of a thing the other day. The whippersnipper. The
fun.
whippersnipper. Aren't they great? Until you had to change the head.
Oh.
I went. I had
yourself tangled?
Yeah, I had to change the head. My brother's over. He's staying with us at the moment, and he said, "Look, I'll do that for you." And I said, "Cool." Okay, so I went and had to go to went to the local hardware shop and got the wire, and they had one that was pre-wound.
Yes.
I got the steel one. I thought I've got to tell you, it was $80 for that versus $7 for the wire. I nearly went for the pre-wound one. I thought, oh my god.
Depends how much you rate yourself per hour on your labour.
That's exactly right. I think it took me about an hour to change it. Anyway, on that note, we shall disappear, and we're going to go to the news. Hills Radio 88.9 FM.
Cheerio.
Cheerio.